Imagine a world where the most groundbreaking electric vehicles don't emerge from Tesla's billion-dollar factories or China's sprawling industrial zones, but from improvised workshops hidden behind corrugated metal doors in Nairobi. Imagine a world where the most durable EV batteries aren't produced in Beijing's labs, but in a remote Ethiopian village powered by solar panels. Imagine a world where survival, not luxury, shapes the future of mobility. Well, guess what? That world is no longer science fiction. It is unfolding right now, and it's coming straight out of Africa. A reality so unexpected, so disruptive, that the global giants, China, Europe, even America, are scrambling to understand how they missed it. For decades, the global story was simple. The West innovates, China copies and scales, and Africa consumes. That's what we were told. That's the narrative written in boardrooms and think tanks. But deep in the shadows of neglect, something else has been growing. Quietly, persistently, defiantly. A new chapter in the story of innovation. One that not even China, with all its power and speed, can copy. It began with whispers. Tinkerers in Nigerian markets fixing engines with scrap. Mechanics in Uganda turning motorcycle taxis into electric hybrids powered by makeshift batteries. Students in Ghana designing solar-powered charging hubs because the national grid couldn't be trusted. These weren't hobby projects. These were lifelines, survival machines. And from survival came genius. While the world obsessed over luxury EVs, Africa asked a different question. What about the millions who can't afford one? What about the regions with no charging infrastructure, no reliable grid, no paved roads? That question led to breakthroughs that no one outside the continent saw coming. Take the story of a young engineer in Ethiopia. Her name whispered in local tech circles, but nearly invisible to the global stage. With nothing but salvaged laptop batteries, she built modular EV power packs that could be swapped out in minutes, carried like backpacks, and recharged with solar. A system designed for farmers who live hours from the nearest town. Her invention spread quietly, adopted by rural cooperatives, and when Chinese observers got wind of it, they tried to replicate it. They failed. The simplicity looked easy, but the philosophy behind it was invisible. Because Africa's EV tech isn't designed for comfort. It's designed for chaos. And that is exactly why China can't copy it. Inside China's state-owned enterprises, confidential reports began to circulate. One leaked analysis, marked top secret by a Beijing policy institute, admitted, African decentralized EV models undermine our advantage in centralized scaling. They are unprofitable, yet unstoppable. Translation? Africa wasn't playing by the same rules, and that scared Beijing. The first reaction was disbelief. State media dismissed African EVs as primitive experiments. Western analysts called them unsustainable. But then, the results started to roll in. Kenyan startups built e-motorcycles that outperformed imported Chinese scooters on rough terrain. Nigerian engineers hacked together EV buses that ran on locally generated solar power. South African innovators launched decentralized charging stations powered by community-owned wind turbines. The impossible was happening, and the world reacted in waves. Investors from Europe and Silicon Valley quietly flew in, searching for the next Tesla of Africa. Governments from Asia to the Middle East started sending observers. Even Japan, long silent in the EV arms race, began quietly studying these grassroots inventions. But not everyone was celebrating. Behind the scenes, a darker story was unfolding. Several African EV startups reported mysterious break-ins at their workshops. Computers stolen, prototypes sabotaged. Promising engineers were suddenly approached with lucrative contracts from Chinese corporations, contracts that required them to shut down their local operations. Smear campaigns spread across international media. Whispers that African EVs were unsafe, untested, unstable. And when those didn't work, money was used as the ultimate weapon. Entire startups were bought out, shelved, erased from existence. Yet, something unexpected happened. Every attempt at suppression only fueled the fire. When one innovator disappeared, their blueprints had already been shared on open-source forums. When a startup was bought out, another 5 sprang up across different countries. A movement was growing. Then came the turning point. When global oil prices spiked, when supply chains snapped under pressure, Africa's EVs didn't just survive, they thrived. Communities that once relied on imported fuel suddenly found themselves independent, powered by the sun and the wind. Farmers rode solar battery tuk-tuks to markets. Delivery companies switched to modular EV bikes that could travel across dirt tracks without failing. Local transport systems transformed almost overnight, while imported Chinese EVs sat idle, waiting for parts that never arrived. And in that moment, the world could no longer ignore what was happening. China's usual strategy, copy, mass produce, dominate, hit a wall. Because Africa's EV tech isn't just hardware, it's a mindset, a culture of resilience. Innovation built from scarcity, adapted to conditions so extreme that no factory blueprint can replicate it. Think about it. You can mass-produce an EV that runs on roads that technically don't exist. You can clone a battery system designed to be fixed by hand with tools bought at a street market. You can't fake a culture of ingenuity forged in struggle. This is uncopyable. And the ripple effects are seismic. Global automakers now face an uncomfortable truth. The future of mobility might not come from Detroit, or Shanghai, or Berlin. It might come from Africa. Corporations that once dismissed the continent as a market of consumers are now scrambling to reposition themselves. Governments that once overlooked African innovators are now drafting policies to protect them. But the battle is far from over. Smear campaigns intensify. Corporate spies hunt for secrets. International lobbies push for regulations that could strangle grassroots innovation. Yet, something fundamental has shifted. Africa has tasted power. Communities that once waited for imports now build their own. Inventors who once begged for recognition now stand as pioneers. And so, the question remains, where does this story end? The truth is, it doesn't. Because this is not just about electric vehicles, it's about rewriting the story of innovation, about proving that ingenuity can beat scale, that resilience can outsmart wealth, that the underdog doesn't just survive, it leads. Africa's EV revolution is more than technology. It's a declaration, a statement to the world. You cannot copy what you do not understand. You cannot steal what is rooted in culture, in necessity, in survival. And for once, China has met its match. So as the world watches in awe, in disbelief, in panic, remember this. Revolutions don't begin in boardrooms. They begin in whispers, in dusty garages, in the hands of people who refuse to give up. And when they rise, they don't ask for permission. They simply change the world. This is Africa's moment. This is destiny. And this time, the future cannot be copied.